So, would you introduce yourself and the roles you play with Global Village School?
Okay. My name's Camilla Barnes, and I'm the Director of Education at Global Village School. And I also get to work as a teacher, and I get to host the live seminar for all of our high school students once a month. And I also get to be the enrollment counselor. So I get to interact with a lot of almost everybody. I think I'm the only one who gets to interact with almost everybody at the school. So
And what do you love most about working with Global Village
yeah.
School?
You gave me that question ahead of time. It was really fun actually to look at the questions ahead of time. And I was thinking like that it's working for a place that's really mission based. And I feel like we put humans as the most important, like people as humans as the most important. And the student is the well-being of our students. But to do that, there's this idea that you have to take care of the well-being of our teachers and our staff and their families, and that's just the way we're making decisions and we're allocating our resources and all of those things. And it's really, I've worked for a bunch of different places that are mission-based, but I feel like uh, this one operates without fear in a lot of ways. I feel like there's a willingness to put us out there a little bit in terms of, yeah, we're going to do what's right. And I think the whole way that the school is set up allows maybe for a little more risk taking towards supporting the individual student than some of the more traditional brick and mortar schools. And so it's great. It's very refreshing. It's lovely.
Mhm. So, what inspires you about our students? And I don't know if you have
Yeah.
examples.
Yeah, I think the that everyone has their own story, right? And so when you have the time and energy to get to know people as individuals, then they all have their strengths and challenges and just amazing ways they're going about this their lives, right? And then as a part of that is educating their kids and what they want for their kids. And I was thinking about the examples. I was thinking it starts with Sally, who, as a founder, who had this idea that this was needed in the world and then dedicated so much of her life and time towards that. And then that just every teacher has their own reason that they're here. And really, I think there's this uh, passion about doing the kind of education that's right for each kid. And that's very refreshing. It's very it's not selfish, I guess. It's really like there's joy in finding what this kid needs and trying to support that or family as a whole. So I really like that. And then the individual students and working with them and their families, like there's just it's just inspiring when you're able to hit what they need. And it can be we have kids who are really passionate and they just need support. Like the I kind of talk about like, well, there's the surfers in Costa Rica and there's the dancer in Berkeley, and just allowing that and to be able to say to a student, I see you, and I love that you're doing that. And I think you want to graduate from high school. So how can we do both? But not to see it as a like, oh, this is getting in the way of you doing school, or but this is just part of your lovely zest towards life and what can we do to support that and move it forward. The examples, let me think. Uh I had a senior, he graduated last year, and he was a surfer, and he was homeschooled, and he spent a lot of time not in a peer group, and he decided he felt like he was socially awkward. And I wouldn't have necessarily identified that in him, but I guess when he got out in the world and he wasn't surfing and his peers, he felt so with his grandma, who was his home teacher, and she had a background in communication, but they designed a course, an English course. So she read all these different books about communicating and designed a English course to so that he could learn about communication and practice it. And it's really cool to see a young man be like, I would like to be a better communicator, and I'm going to put the work in to make that happen. And so he actually offered to run one of the seminars and taught all the other kids about active listening and how important he thought that was. And really just he I think would say as well, there was a shift where he went from feeling like he was socially awkward to feeling comfortable and confident going to communicating. And it was a goal he had set. He asked for support. He designed the way to do it, and then met that goal and took off. After he graduated, took off on a trip around Japan on his bike, pulling a surfboard with somebody he had met, and his friend is is blogging about it. And yeah, so what a cool example. Or another thing I thought it was, I had a young woman who social justice issues were really important to her, and she didn't feel like the school she was in was culturally responsive to her needs and what she was. And so she asked if she could not graduate from that school, and her mom found GDS, and she just did our senior year with us and was able to make the work meaningful to her, and so to do things that she felt like were meaningful and worth her time, which it's senior year, it seems like it's hard for kids because they're maybe moving on and ready for their next step. And so instead of feeling like a wasted year, she just felt like she was able to make all of her courses about stuff that she was interested in. And it was really important for her that the thing she was interested in was helping the world. And she didn't want to be learning about things that she didn't feel like were going towards that. And so she was able to spend the year learning about things that she felt like would be able to make her be a more of a global citizen in the world. So
Boy,
yeah,
inspiring indeed. Wow.
yeah,
Well, this question might seem, I don't want to say redundant, but anyway, what aspects of working with Global Village School energizes you professionally?
yeah. So I tried to not be redundant. So I was thinking, I decided to think about that question as just like, as an educator, what's fun for me, and it's fun for me to work with the family or other educators and to really try to figure out what's the best education for that student. And so I love that we have the flexibility to take the time to think about that, to really listen to the student, to listen to the family and what they're doing and what they need. Um, and so it, it and sometimes really cool stuff that happens, like they get to be members of their community. And so I feel like they have relationships with their parents or with outside teachers or grandparents in this way that wouldn't necessarily happen. It's like instead of school being this separate thing, they get to find ways to meet their needs in their communities. And so it's fun to be a part of figuring that out, right? Okay, here's this need, and what resources do you have, and how can we meet those things together? Um, and yeah, and the problem solving part of it is fun for me, and the like, okay, well, what about this, or try this, and that there's the ability in the room to try multiple things. And if something's not working, we don't have to move forward with it. We can pivot and do something else and try something else. And so that is, and then you get to see the successes, and of that, of course, is fun as an educator. Um, so like I have this one young woman who she just really struggles. She has a lot of health stuff, and so her energy is a very limited resource. And she just struggles being engaged in what she's learning. She does fine, but she discovered during cultural geography that she had this love of planning trips, and not just planning, but like finding out what was in places and what people would go visit and the historical significance. And she doesn't necessarily want to go on them, but she loves like planning down to the detail of it. And it was the most excited I'd ever seen her about to go. And so we actually set it up as an elective so she can continue to do it. And she has a sister who goes to school across the country, and so she planned the road trip that her family would have coming back from the East Coast to the West Coast, and what they would visit on the way, and how they would get different places, and so this level, like very impressive attention to detail, and actually really learning about the places, and so this is very interesting. It's like, oh, well, here is a an avenue for you that I don't think anybody would have ever could have said like, well, you should try this, but we just stumbled upon it, and then we were able to let it grow and
Uh,
develop it.
And it will. It'll continue to grow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No matter what reigns or which direction she chooses to
Yeah, yeah. Well, we talked
those.
about writing, like you could blog about places and yeah, so there's lots of just interesting avenues and all of them she likes it all. Like there's something about and like I said, not going. She doesn't necessarily want to go. She just wants to learn about it and oh,
So
very
cool.
cool. Yeah.
So cool. So what makes Global Village School or and your students or and your colleagues a compelling force in your life?
I think being part of the whole community. So I'd say it's the students and the families and the colleagues, and there's this shared ethic of wanting to be positive contributors to the world. And so, whether that's on an individual level of following your passion and doing something that makes the individual come alive, to how can that be shared with a larger community to the world? We have the whole range of students and drives and interests. But it's just nice uh, to be in a group, and that's how I like to live my own life. And so to be part of a group of people who want to be doing that.
Here, here,
Yeah.
here, here.